You do the same thing with each one of these. So for not high school graduate, or for this one, this would be, it would be 48 degree measure, but the percentage would be 13.32, like it is right here. So all of these will add up to 100%, but if I look at the degrees here, they will add up to 360. So that's how you would do it by hand. Most of the time you just do this on Excel and it'll go ahead and put everything in there that you need. Now, two types of graphs that you should never ever use. Number one is a non-zero axis, and the second one is a pictograph. Now, non-zero axis, basically you're not starting at 0. You're starting at some other number. Now what's going to happen is it's going to make the differences between those categories or those bars exaggerated. So let me show you first. This is kind of old information, but notice, look at this bar and this bar. They look like they are completely different from each other. This one is so much more than this one right here. But if you look at the percentages here, 35%, 39.6. Now that's not really that much of a difference, but when you look at these bars, they look very different from each other. Come over here. This starts at 34 and not 0. So that's why these two bars look completely different, or they look drastically different from each other. Now if we start at 0, like here, notice the two bars. They're not that different from each other. Something is happening here. Okay, if you look at Democrats versus Republicans versus Independents, what you see is, looks like the Democrats are way above the Republicans and Independents. So there's a vast difference between these two and this one right here. But notice they start at 53. Now if we start at 0, this is what your table or your graph should look like. Now all these don't really look that different from each other. Okay, so notice they start at 0 right here and go in increments of 10. Next thing that you shouldn't use is a pictograph, especially one that's in 3 dimensions. What you want to stick to is either 1 dimension or 2 dimension, but not 3 dimensions. So what it does is it's misleading because it makes the image appear larger than it actually is. And let me show you an example of that one. Okay, so if we look at this right here, looking at high school graduation rate. Now compare this 75 to this 80. It's only 5% difference between these two. But this category here looks so much bigger than this one right here because it has so much more area than over here. Now, this is 3-dimensional right here. Now, if we look at only 2 dimensions, this is actually what the graph should look like. So it doesn't look like there's too much difference between each of these years compared to this table or graph right here, which makes it look like you're steadily increasing. Looks like a huge difference between this one and this one right here. Okay, so those are the two things that you should not use. You want to make sure that your axis always starts at 0 and that you're using either 1 dimension or 2 dimensions, but not 3 dimensions because it gives you more area. It makes it look bigger than it actually is.